So this is No Prisoners Podcast. We have two special guests tonight, but before we get into that, we have to talk about 86 West, the home of the No Prisoners Podcast. I'm looking at the right camera. I was like, making sure. Always mess that up. 86 West is the home of the No Prisoners Podcast. They allow us to host happy hours here once a month. They allow us to host a podcast here weekly. They have an excellent menu. They're always feeding us and our friends. The local community can't say enough great things about it, and neither can we. So that's what we got going on here.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then happy hour the last Wednesday of every month at 86 West. Straight to business.
Yeah, straight to
Let's
business.
get straight to business.
What do we have in today?
So we have Britt and Jason, special guests. I actually don't even know your last names. That's pretty relevant to this conversation.
Craveiro.
That's
Craveiro.
Craveiro.
Yeah.
you can put some sauce in it if you want. Craveiro.
Craveiro.
See?
That's
I like
nice.
that.
Where's that from?
It's Portuguese last name.
Oh, really?
Portuguese.
Are you guys? So are you Portuguese or
Yeah. Descent.
descent?
Both my parents. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Did you speak it growing up?
Yeah.
Oh,
Still
really?
do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Are you like Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese?
Portuguese.
Okay. Is there like if somebody's Portuguese and then there's Brazilian Portuguese, is like one like we're like from the original Portuguese kind of thing?
They think that the Brazilians think the Portuguese are arrogant, and I think that the Brazilians feel like the Americans do towards the English. You know what I mean? It's very similar.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So
All
you're
good,
like
though.
the
It's all
English,
good.
man.
Yeah. We're the colonizers.
Rip the Band-Aid right
Yeah.
now.
Right, yeah.
OGs.
It is what it is.
But you're here to talk about your school, Apogee. We came into contact from Maria, who's a close friend of ours, also a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I don't know if you guys knew that.
She's awesome.
So Maria reached out to me and didn't really tell me a lot about what you're doing, but knew that I kind of, like, my wife and I are, like, getting ready to have kids in the next couple of years and things like that. So, like, her and I had a conversation about, you know, educating and, like, how she's raising her kids a bunch of different times. So when your school had come up in conversation and she found out about it, she immediately brought it over to me and was like, you need to talk to this lady. And I was like, well, set it up. And then it literally happened like 3 days later, you're here. Yeah. So thank you for coming. But I guess we'll just kick it off with like, what is Apogee and like, what are you guys up to?
Cool. Well, first, actually, I want to give you kudos for thinking about education before you even have children. Like, that is awesome. Like, thank you for leading well, because you will impact community around you. I wish that we had thought of it that much before we started having children.
We were still programmed.
Yeah.
Programmed. Yeah, I see how this is going to go. That I'm 36, so I think that probably comes with, if I had kids younger, I don't know that I would think this way. I think it's, a lot of my friends have had kids, and subsequently it's kind of like you pick up things, and this is where, you know, I happily ended up in this context. So when she told me what you were doing, I was like, gotta have her on. But I know like Apogee is defined as the farthest or highest point.
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
What, like, can you speak to like why you guys named the program Apogee, and then we can kind of get into like what it is Apogee does?
So I can't take any credit for the name. That's all Tim Kennedy and Mr. Matt Beaudreau. They started the program as a young men's mentorship program. So we were really blessed to have a good friend who saw the podcast that was introducing Apogee as a young men's program. And they said, wow, this would be great for Tone. That's our 18-year-old.
Okay.
So he was 15 at the time. And Matt interviewed him to see if he would be a good candidate for the program. You kind of have to want to be there. So a lot of times at 15, you're kind of like, you have to be there. So
yeah, you can be anywhere but there when you're 15.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we met Matt, and Matt was like the mentor that I had prayed for my son. And so they developed a relationship. He got accepted into the program, and he he thrived. He got to connect with young men in different countries. And alongside of his mentorship, education, we received as a family an education and coaching from Matt. The program was real small at that point. And so as the program progressed, more people joined. There were dads that were like, hey, like, I could use some of this education. Can you do something for dads? So then came the men's program. Jay was part of the first class. And then now we have a women's program. And now we're launching K through 12 schools. So there are 50 affiliate campuses currently, most of which are launching in 2024 in the fall.
Wow.
We won't be launching until 2025.
How long ago did Apogee start? Because you said, like, your son's 18 now. He started when he was 15. So did it start 3 years ago?
Yes.
So you guys were, like, ground level entry into the
blessed.
program.
It's so lucky to be part of it. It was, it's been great to see it grow.
What?
Tone was class 1 for the kids program.
Oh, okay. 001. That's got to be cool.
Yeah.
Looking back on that.
Really cool.
What were the conditions leading up to, like, making that decision to, like, I'm assuming he had to go to, a camp or a classroom, or there's some sort of online curriculum, or I guess we can, like, kind of go through, like, what the program is for him or how it started. But, like, why did he need extra help in school? Was it just, like, discipline? Like, what were the circumstances?
Yes, and so we had recently pulled him from public school because there was a lot of reasons. I had been wanting to pull both of our kids at the time. We have 3 kids, but 2 of them were in public school, and
The youngest was not in school yet.
Yeah. So we pulled him, and my friend had just opened another micro school close by, but I knew her age was not to Tone's age. She only went to, at that time, Addison must have been 11? Wait.
Well, she had middle
12.
school.
So she had up to middle school. So basically what happened, and I said to her, listen, I can't afford to send my kids to your school, but they have to come to your school. So I will do anything to be able to send them here. And she said, of course, Britt, we'll find a way. So I was a volunteer for about 2 or 3 days, and then she was like, there's no way this can be a volunteer job. So she offered me a job, and very quickly after like the first week or 2, she kind of planted the seed, hey, we need more of this in our area, so you gotta do it next. And I'm like, I don't know if that's my gifting. And she's like, this is your gifting. But the whole administrative part of it kind of scared me back then. So I said, after a long conversation with her about it, I said, okay, I'll figure it out, because I feel like I have a responsibility to do this, because I remember feeling stuck. And even 3 months into going to a new school, some of our neighbors were saying, you're so lucky that you got your kids out when you did. And I'm like, got them out? It is still possible for you to do the same thing. And so
This was during COVID.
this was, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's 3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago now.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Right when they were returning back to going to school.
So it was like
That switch from
2021,
online, yeah.
kind of that year was
We
interesting.
started there at 2020, yeah.
So was it like the school was the issue, or like the programming of the public school was the issue, or your son, like how he was being received? Like, what was that issue?
Oof.
Or like, what is, like, is it more like the school? I guess
That's
like
a loaded
there's-
question,
But there's a
Andrew.
lot. It like having changed schools as a kid, like it's
Yeah.
not an easy decision
Right.
for a lot of reasons. Like you have to fill out paperwork. I'm filling out paper. Like my
I
parents are
know.
filling out paperwork, changed me in school. I'm like, I didn't know you. I just thought you just went to school. Like, I thought you just show up. When you go to a new school, they just like pick you up on the address thing, and they just like
Right.
know you moved in. I guess. Like I never thought like you had to go through and like go through that whole process. So like you taking your kid out of school and moving them into this, rather like it's in the modern years of our existence, it's abstract, but like you kind of
Sure.
are more traditional
Sure.
in a historical sense of education, but like there had to be something that like you can think back on and be like the schools weren't doing this for us, or the environment was causing these problems, or something like
I think Antonio was failing on every front. Our daughter was falling behind in all metrics, and then we were seeing them be more concerned with how do I say this gently, like ideologies as opposed to educating the kids.
Okay.
And it wasn't working, and we just got to our breaking point that enough is enough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just made a
And
change.
my curious young people were becoming very robotic and not excited to learn anymore. And
Yeah.
it killed me. And so the opportunity to, now my friend had told me about the school, and that's why I was like, they have to be here. She basically told me it was, there was a lot of leadership that was allowed. Like the kids basically drove.
The program.
Yes.
Okay.
So learner-driven program,
They call it learner-led.
learner-led.
Learner
yeah.
led. So like the curriculum, there's a structure to it, but you're kind of like given the roadmap, and your checkpoints are like set up. Like how's that work? That
So
learner led.
everybody's learning at their own pace. They're working. It's mixed ages. So I was a guide first in we had 4-year-olds to 8-year-olds. So there's a time for them to all work on their core skills. So they're all working wherever they are working in core skills. Some are doing 3-digit, addition, and some are just learning their colors and shapes. So they collaborate, they teach each other, and I'm a facilitator. So I facilitate Socratic conversations that launches them into their day, talk to them about building good habits. So if we could backtrack a little bit.
Go ahead, it's your show.
So the reason why I started talking about that was because you asked me about tone and the program and how the program fit into it. So he started going to the school. He's the oldest by 3 years. So my friend Aaron said, hey, there's this program starting, and it's online, and I think it would be perfect for tone. And it's kind of set up the same way. It's Socratic discussion-based.
What do you
There's
mean by like
mentors.
Socratic?
Socratic discussion. So
Because there's people listening probably that are like, what does
That
Socratic
mean?
mean?
yeah.
It's continuously asking questions to try to guide somebody to find an answer, as opposed to giving them an answer. That's
Okay.
probably the simplest way to explain it.
Yeah. So a kid asks, why is the sky blue?
Yeah. So
Like
what
you
would be-
just give them the answer.
And depending on the age of the kid, you would come up with different questions. So like,
Sure.
I don't know if you recall any of the Sparks questions, but what would be some of your Socratic discussion points that you used this year?
So there would be like an introduction and maybe a video, something that would put them in a moral dilemma, and they would have usually 2 or 3 options to choose from, and none of them are a wrong answer, but it gives them the opportunity to critically think about why they're choosing a particular answer, right?
So
there's
like you
rules.
see someone that needs help with their grocery bags or something like that. Like, what do you do? A, B, C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you pick it up and put it in their cart? Do you walk them to their car? Which one is more honorable?
Okay.
And why? And then it becomes like a competitive thing. There's rules of engagement that start off every Socratic discussion, and the learners are bought into what does it look like? So to start, before you have any formal Socratic discussion, you come together collectively and you talk about what's it look like to have a powerful discussion. And we start with, well, you have to take a stand. So in order it to be a Socratic discussion, you have to be willing to take a stand. So
To choose one side.
Yeah, there might be 2 right answers, but the challenge is for you to take a stand on one.
Wow.
And then they pick other things like, well, I don't like to be interrupted when I'm speaking, so if you could wait your turn. And so we get them invested in what what kind of conversation do you want to have? What kind of atmosphere do you want?
Wow.
And they're posted on the wall, and they've agreed now to follow them all whenever we meet for discussions. So.
Wow. So you guys are using like executive leadership team building skills in a younger, how old would you start like doing stuff like that?
4.
Damn,
It's
that's incredible.
I think
Oh my God.
That's
the
awesome.
value,
The value, if you don't see the value in that, you're potentially looking through the wrong lens, I guess. Like if you don't see the value in that, I can't speak to you on that level. But like when you think about young minds, like being able to like process things, because you do meet a lot of younger people or see them out in the world right now that they seem very, I don't know, just not really there. Or you talk to them, especially like cash registers. Like, I feel like an old man. I'm 36. Like I should feel like this when I'm 46. Like I feel like being like, what are these kids today?
Yeah.
You know, I leave this
Exactly.
store. I'm like, damn it, I gotta stop saying this, but it's true. So to hear that, you know, there's an opportunity, you know, different avenue that's being. You said 50 affiliates now.
yes, sir.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So like going back to your son, you enrolled him 3 years ago into what was a online program, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he had to go away for a week or if it was like the National Guard or something like that,
Oh.
like 2 weekends, you know. So he started online, and you were confident that a 15-year-old kid that was already kind of going through it was ready for like an online kind of learning environment?
that was ancillary to his schooling. So
Okay.
he was at school, and this was just something that was an add-on.
Oh, so he
Plugged
was still
into
in
school.
public school.
So this would be evenings, weekends, and then some midday calls where they would get. They were broken up into small groups, so he would have his group of guys, and they would have discussions, and even if it's just talking about, you know,
Okay.
problems that they're having and working it through it with each other.
And there's a
So that was like in addition to the school.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay.
not public school though. My friends.
So he was in
School.
this.
Yes.
This what do you call it?
It's a micro school.
Micro school.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
I
an
didn't want to be
acting
like
academy.
alternative school or something like that. Sounds disciplinary or something like
Yeah,
that.
it does.
So, wow,
He was on his way.
that kind of yeah. Most of us were at that age.
Yeah.
Right.
I think like going into this, so he was getting the support in this kind of like school, micro school. Was he the only 18-year-old in there? So you kind of needed to find something else, or did it come at the same time?
So it came quickly after.
Okay.
It was a good opportunity for him to lead because basically he was leading the entire school. I think at that point there was maybe 35, 40 kids enrolled in the school.
In the micro school?
Yes.
Okay.
So we had anywhere from 4-year-olds to 12-year-olds that were really looking to him for guidance. But there's also opportunities for the young ones to spark his curiosity. So very quickly saw him excited about learning again. He picked up the guitar and taught himself how to play the guitar. He started playing with his Legos again. Wasn't, just
So he was like the cool older brother to all of these kids.
Yeah.
And that responsibility kind of just like
yes.
lit him up.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then the opportunity for Apogee came in. It came in about January, and he was able to come into the program officially. It was not class 1; it was class 2.
Was it?
Yeah, and he started in June or May or June, and so it was supplementary to what was going on in school. So it was an opportunity for him to have Socratic discussion with more
Peers.
young men that are closer in age to him. So it was more challenging for him. Alongside of the Socratic discussions, there's a number of challenges, a kind of a roadmap for life skills, so to say, that they get to be part of. So they are creating digital portfolios that showcase the challenges that they work through. There's a lot of goodness in there.
Yeah.
A lot of goodness.
Discipline, developing discipline,
Yeah.
having, the essential 11 and things like that. And they were keeping score, and it almost
Would you say
got
essential?
gamified. Essential 11, things that they needed to do every day. To kind of,
Essential 11.
Yeah.
Do you know what the essential 11 are? We used to have like a computer and screens and stuff in
Yeah,
our
I
last
wish I
place. We
could pull it up.
put it up. We can pull it up for you. We'll pull it up here on the screen for you. I think the editor remembers to do that.
Yeah. 20 minutes in.
So while he's pulling that up,
Yeah.
when he goes to these like virtual Zoom meetings for his group within Apogee, his unit or team or whatever they call themselves, is there an administrator of that group that is outside of their age? Like, is there a
Yes.
Jason or a Gilmar in there, kind of like making sure nobody sends anybody too aggressively in one direction or the other?
Sure, yeah, there's a facilitator of
Okay.
the conversation. Normally it would be Matt Beaudreau. He's one of the founders of Apogee alongside of Tim Kennedy.
Matt, I'm assuming, so like that's a lot of people. Even in the beginning, there was probably a lot of people that he's like, how many groups were there in the beginning? Like your son's group, and then there was, because he was class 1 or 2.
Yes.
Was
so
there like 10 group, like 50 kids? Like how many kids are we talking?
I think to start, if I look, I can look back at the Zoom calls. In my mind, there's a good amount of boxes, probably about 30 faces on those Zoom calls.
Okay.
And then his class, he ended up being the only one to actually graduate from his class because people drop. It's a rigorous program. It's hard.
So
it's challenging.
In addition to, or what's the essential?
Okay.
Let's go
Well,
back to
this one's for the adult men, but it's similar. Just first one: pray, meditate, gratitude. You have to take time first thing in the morning. Pray, meditate, or gratitude, whatever works for you. Fitness, daily fitness. You got to move every day. Do something. Sleep. You're going to have a sleep target. Did you hit your target? Yes or no? You get points for that. Journal every day. Notes, text of affirmation to loved ones. Email, text, or call a non-Apogee person, and it's just like you're checking in with a brother. Food, what is your diet? What kind of discipline are you having within your diet? Scheduling your next day, reading a minimum of 10 minutes, and then financial check-in. I don't know what they did for the
kids.
the young men, but that was also something that
Still
daily,
broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, still
those are all-
broke.
Still have no money.
Got 25 cents.
But those were
Yeah.
the essential 11 that I had access to.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of us take for granted like a lot of those things.
Yeah.
If you grew up with somebody that knew how to cook or something like that, like, or you grew up with somebody that was physically active, like you might have 5 or 6 of those things if you're, blessed.
Yeah.
But like if you have 2 or 1 of those things, like your life is going to look a lot different. You start adding 3, 4, 5, 6 of
For
those.
sure. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So he had the Apogee program initially was these regular Zoom call check-ins. What other additional responsibilities or curriculum or learning, like what else was there to the program?
The mentorships.
The mentorships.
So they would have people calling in, like industry leaders, politicians, actors. Who was the guy that did The Sound of Freedom? The director, he was on there. Tulsi Gabbard was on.
Because Tim and Matt are pulling
Tim
in
gets
these,
on every once in a while. Yeah,
these
big
good guests.
names.
Yeah.
A lot of authors. Definitely a lot of authors would jump on. People who've written books that they're recommending as part of their reading lists.
That's interesting.
So
It sounds a lot like the young man's version of what's the Andy Frizella's
75 hard.
Been on there too.
No, that's
the one that I did for like a few months, and then I was like, nope, I don't even remember.
Oh, it was
Arte.
Arte. Yeah.
And like you would have these conversations in the group, and it made me very grateful to like be around the people I already kind of was around, because like there was so many people. You don't realize when you look at the whole nation, like not every place in our country is populated with the level of wealth or opportunities that like this northeast corridor has. So it was like nothing for me to like walk out and get a coffee and see like a Lamborghini drive by and like ask that guy or reach out. But
Sure.
when you talk to these people on the calls, you'd be like, wow, like you're in the middle of nowhere, like how do you meet people? And that was cool to see. So your son was introduced to people like all across the United States then.
Yeah, and it was mostly homeschool kids, and a lot of them coming from in the middle of nowhere places.
Yeah.
So that was really fun to meet them at the first in-person meetup was in Asheville, North Carolina in 2022. And that's really where there was already a seed planted from my friend who was like, yeah, you got to do this. You're good at this. And then when I met Matt in person, we've already had developed a relationship because he's coaching me as he's coaching my son. Such an incredible experience. And then I meet him, and he's like, you want to open a school? And I'm like, I sure do, but I don't know. He's like, I'll help you. And I'm like, you will?
Yeah.
Okay. I just got to think on this for a little while.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility. It is a lot of responsibility.
Trying to think about that too much.
Yeah.
Just send it.
Just go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What so Apogee, when your son started, is a virtual thing. You guys are a physicals or going to be a physical school, physical location for
Yes,
kids
sir.
locally.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a location picked out, or like something that we maybe don't want to discuss, or like how do you want to handle that?
So we don't have a location yet. We had a possibility, which is still a possibility. But because we're not launching until 2025, we're not going to cross that bridge until a little bit later.
That's a little more appropriate. Your fall of 2025?
Fall of 2025.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yes,
I think
sir.
of January, but like school starts in the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of facility are you looking for?
Have you ever been to, what's the gym in Lehigh Valley?
The Valley?
Oh, the Valley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want it to look like that.
Okay. All right.
Kind of like a warehouse.
The editor will put
The
a picture
gym.
of that up on the screen again.
Yeah.
There's no picture there. It's just like a dog.
Yeah. It's a little frog.
The editor fights back.
A lot of open space. We want to have mats because we do want to incorporate physical fitness is one thing that we certainly want to incorporate into the school
Jiu-jitsu
day and
specifically.
specifically jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Is jiu-jitsu like a part of the Apogee curriculum?
Not
Or is there like a
necessarily.
physical, is there a physical component to
There's
it? Like
a physical component, yes.
So you're not raising just little warriors, because I think like sometimes when people look at Apogee that
Okay.
perhaps that aren't, they don't look like us and choke people for sport.
Sure.
Like they might be like, oh, that's a little intense. So like, what would you say to something like that?
So the everyday program will basically be calisthenics. That'll be, so anybody can partake, but jiu-jitsu will be available to those who want to participate.
Okay.
So
I think that's awesome.
pie in the sky, eventually what it will be is it'll be a hub for education. We'll have our normal 8-ish to 3-ish school days, but the campus will be available for people in the community who want to be part of it. Because when you really see what it's all about, you see the value in just hearing about what a Socratic discussion is. When you see it in person, you're going to want to be, like, parents are going to want to be a part of it. And so the space will be available.
Yeah. I feel like, have you ever seen Star Wars? Have you seen Star Wars?
Yeah.
There's a part in Star Wars where they come in and there's like all the little kid Jedis that are all like learning in the circle. That's what I feel like this is. Just like, what do you think, you Master Yoda? Like,
Yeah, you got to give them lightsabers.
just a positive place for learning.
Yeah, exactly.
What you guys are really, would you say you're just getting started in this, or like the commitments have been made and now we're starting to lay the groundwork over the next year? Is that kind of like where you're?
So we've, the commitments are made, yeah. Affiliate agreement is signed. Potential coaches are in the works. We're in the program. Like, as owners, we are in the program as well. Like, I'm in the women's program, so working through that.
So they can disseminate the core values of the organization get upheld by everyone.
Yes,
top
sir.
down.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
And
Okay.
if we're expecting the kids to do the work, we're doing it too.
Yeah. That was a difficult aspect of public school. There'd be times where you'd be interacting with teachers and it was out of level or out of balance in some way. Like the teacher was talking about something you knew they knew nothing about. They'd be like, oh, I gotta turn back to this other page. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Or like you knew that
Right.
their values perhaps were getting pushed on you. Not so much when I was a kid, but like I'm hearing about it now. But when
Yes.
we were kids, like they did it, but it was just like, it wasn't, I don't think, like the agenda the way it is now. I think it was just like each individual teacher just being human just imparted their agenda onto you.
Sure.
But now I kind of hear different things. What you guys are opening a school to combat those so-called agendas. Like, we don't have to get into like specific ones, but what is stopping you from opening a school with like opposite agendas, and then like you think those agendas are positive, but like maybe the whole world doesn't agree? Like, how are you managing like letting the kids kind of like develop as individuals rather than kind of like forcing that agenda on them? I don't know if I asked that right. I hope I got the
I'm
point.
tracking with you.
Yeah.
I think that the Socratic discussions being the like foundation, like we're teaching them how to think and how to process, how to disagree with each other,
Okay.
how to change their minds. Like, you don't have to think one way just because someone else does. And if someone else has a really good argument for why they think the way they do, you can change your mind.
You're allowed to change
Yeah,
it.
you're allowed to change your mind. Now, you can't be wishy-washy. You can't be like, oh, well, a little bit of this and a little bit of... No, you
Chris
need
over
to,
there said.
You need to take a stand, and you need to formulate an argument for why you think the way you do. And if you have a weak argument, maybe it is time that you
Think about your thing.
change your mind.
So your agenda is not necessarily like, whereas public school might have like specific agendas that they're trying to like make sure you hear
Yeah.
and demonstrate that you hear it.
Yeah.
Your agenda is more to promote free thinking
Yes, sir.
and, positive disagreements. I don't know how
Yeah,
to say that.
truth is the highest value.
Yeah. So just the seeking the truth rather than just like following the narrative. So like you're raising each or coaching or guiding these kids as individuals rather than setting them up for like PSSAs,
Yes, sir.
which is our Pennsylvania state assessment,
Yes.
which I think is nationally the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Will you fall under those same, I don't know what, I'm not an educator, so I don't know if guidelines or policies, laws, I don't know how aggressive that is.
I don't know how many laws there are. There's curriculums that we, I guess, have like the basic, what do we call them? The core.
The meat and potatoes.
No, when they're doing their
Core skills?
Core
Oh,
skills.
yes.
The core skills checks off the curriculum requirements for the state.
Okay.
So like math, English, writing,
And do
sciences.
they take the standardized tests then, or they just don't have to at
You
that point
won't.
because it doesn't matter?
No standardized
There's
tests.
enough
Doing
people
that.
taking standardized tests. We got the data.
Right.
Right. That's all it is.
Those rules dumb.
They do the test and they're like, okay, everybody got 76 wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody in PA doesn't know their history. It's like
Yeah.
that's what it like. That's all it is. And then they just send an email out to all the teachers and be like, you got to force this subject. Everybody failed this section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a group of kids in my school, I think in junior high, that didn't do so well. Like, we were divided into pods, I think they were called. And like Blue Pod did not do so hot.
Damn, Blue Pod, what we doing?
Assessment, so they had to get like they like made us all kind of like do the extra, but like it was Blue Pods.
Damn, Blue Pod,
They
dude.
messed up on the reading.
Dude, you're dragging us down,
Like, yeah, because it
dude.
was all like the weakest links were in Blue Pod.
They did that on purpose, dude.
To be honest with you, it's been so long. This might have been like 8th graders like speculating why we were still doing this stuff. It was
Yeah.
Blue Pod.
Damn,
They
Blue
might have
Pod,
been
dude.
saying it about us.
Yeah, it was fucking Red Pod, dude.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of like the kids that are gonna go through this program and like kind of experiencing that. Like, I don't think stress is bad per se, but the stress of going through school to become like somebody like, I don't even know, like just another like a drone or cog in the wheel. Like, to hear about these kids having the opportunity to become like these free thinkers, it's kind of something to be a little jealous of. Like, these kids get the opportunity to, skip over some things, I feel.
But you get to be part of it too as a parent.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Do you ever have a moment, or this probably happens a lot, where you're like, damn, that's not how we did it as kids. Like,
I could cry almost every day being in the studio with them because I'm like, this is so awesome. And I feel like I get a second chance.
Okay.
Being in the studio with them, going through this program, I actually get the opportunity. I didn't test well, so I didn't play the game of school very well, which was tough. And so I'm like, I missed all of that, and now I get to do it again, and my curiosity has just deepened, like watching them be able to not only hang on to their curiosity, which is generally stripped so early, but have it deepened every day.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I think that's super important.
Is that awesome?
Yeah, because when I was a kid, I mean, I went to Trenton public schools. You know, they weren't the best, but we had some good teachers here and there. But I feel that my brother and I, the way we grew up is we were sons of immigrants, so we figured out everything on our own. So we were naturally very curious kids. So I remember in kindergarten, they'd be teaching them, I don't know, maybe like some counting, and my brother and I would be doing division already because we would just open up our books and just read stuff. And it would have been cool to have this opportunity, say, when I was a kid, because imagine what I could have been had I had these skills taught to me, or someone told me, yeah, do what you want. You don't have to be this, you don't have to be that. I remember at one point, I told one of my teachers I wanted to be a chef because I was into cooking. My dad was a chef growing up, so I wanted to do it.
You were at one point a chef.
I was at one point a chef, yeah. And she said, are you stupid? You should be a doctor. And I'm like, what? You're going to tell me what to do with my life? So it was.
And you shanked her.
Yeah, then and I dropped her.
She caught the blade as
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, she's like, you have such a great mind. You should be a surgeon, this and that. But I was like, nah, that's not what I want to do, you know? So
Got
it,
too many surgeons.
yeah, sure. We have not enough chefs. No, but yeah, it's just really cool to hear that. And I mean, I'm still young. I'm 29, so I think a lot of the things you guys are talking about, I'm also learning from reading. For example, being a free thinker and standing on your, I guess, your views, and then but also debating with other people, and then being able to change your mind. I think that's so cool and so valuable, and it's amazing. When I have kids, this is something that Anna, my girlfriend, and I talk about all the time, is how important education is and how important it is to have access to proper education, because that creates, like you said, free thinkers, better humans, and, you know, better opportunities for everyone else around. So it's so cool. This is so cool. Like I love what you guys are doing.
How can people get, like, how are you going to handle the admission process? How's that going to work?
We'll be selective.
There will be an interview process.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the interview process?
Don't know what it looks like yet.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
unless you have been probably thinking about this more than I have.
Well, as I speak with parents, there are just, sometimes there's red flags. What's most important is if they're willing to be part of the Apogee Men and Women's program, because with tuition, that's free for them. So if they're willing to go through their program while their children are going through the program, I think they're a fit.
Yeah, so you're more so looking for families, not necessarily students.
Exactly.
Let that be a lesson to everybody here watching this. If you want to cheat your way into this amazing program, you better start practicing.
Yeah.
You just start faking it, and then you just become.
He's the
Wait a
best
minute.
person ever. Yeah.
I'm being too good to everyone.
Oh, damn. That's where we're supposed to go.
What I guess in going back to kind of like the program and the 50 affiliates, how much freedom is given to you guys in terms of, like, you have the core values and the Socratic method and all of that, but what else is like kind of provided for you, or what is uniform throughout the entire organization? So if somebody's listening to this and they're like not in PA, what could they expect at least from their local militia? I mean, Apogee.
So aside from their core skill time, there will be project-based learning time.
Okay.
So every session, we'll have sessions, 7 or 8 within the year. So for every session, there's a different theme. So the first one, for example, is what's your code? And it's all about learning the Apogee code, which is the Bushido code, basically. And then what does it look like for us as a tribe? Like, what's our code? What do we expect of each other when we show up here? How are we to each other? What's important to you? So really focusing on that foundation during that first session. And then at the end of the session, there's always some sort of exhibition of learning. So a display of excellent work where they get to put on a Renaissance fair and talk about why it's important to have a code and to honor that code then.
So how do you, like, what you're doing is kind of abstract in comparison to, like, the rigidness of public school.
Yes, sir.
So if you see someone falling behind in public school, you can see it happening to that criteria that they're being scored on.
Yeah.
With like the free thinking aspect of your school and the kids given the freedom that they it sounds like they have, like how do you keep a kid from falling behind? I understand that there's individuals and everybody's moving at their own pace, and maybe, you know, if Gilmar and I are the same age, maybe we don't read at the same level.
Yeah.
But like how do you identify if everybody's an individual and there's no comparison, like how do you keep someone from falling behind?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, every studio will have coaches. So not teachers, but coaches. So part of a daily discipline for a young learner is goal setting. So we talk about the importance of having SMART goals, and then you have your peers who get to know you, and they are consistently raising the bar of excellence. So that's a really cool thing to see when you see 2 or 3, a little group of 6, 7, and 8-year-olds saying, hey, you know what? I know that you read 30 pages the other day. I think you should up it because I know you're ready for that. And so they talk about that. That's a part of before they head into their core skill time. Before it's like how they start the day is like, here's my intention for the day. And they're constantly raising the standards because of the culture that is being built. It's just a natural thing that happens. So, for example, our daughters will be we'll be homeschooling them because we'll be traveling for the next year. That's the only reason we're not launching this year, is because we have an awesome opportunity to go to Portugal for the next year. So basically, they're working on their core skill work. As individuals, they'll be holding each other accountable. And then when they have more friends in their studio, it just becomes like a bigger situation. Does that
So
does that
it
make
kind of
sense?
sounds like you're using, it sounds like positive peer pressure.
Yeah.
Like you're using,
that.
you're using the team to elevate the individual.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's how you want it. And you also, the coaches.
That's how you build a team of killers. Gilmore.
Exactly.
That's what we do here.
That's
in
what teams should
construction,
do,
dude.
yeah.
Be real, dude.
That's what
They're
teams
stealing
do.
our techniques.
And the coaches are able to monitor where they are
Yeah.
with all of their core skills. So you can see like where everyone is, like with their math, with their reading.
So there
with
is
their
some sort of
writing.
standard.
Yeah.
Because I think the public school system was allowed to exist to the level, or is still, it's not past tense, still allowed to exist, is because, and might catch some shit for this, but parents are lazy. I think that it's easy. Maybe it's not lazy. Maybe that it could be wrong. Maybe you have a lot on your plate. Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you just have too much going on. Like there's a lot of things that could be going on to lead to this circumstance. But I think it comes down to like your willingness to participate in your child's education. It's sometimes confusing to me. Even when I was younger, it's just kind of like, why are the teachers responsible for your kids? We're mad at the teachers.
Right.
Teachers don't get paid enough. They get paid too much. They have too much time off. We're always mad at the teachers, but nobody's ever really looking about what's going on at home, where you know.
Yeah.
And I think that your school isn't necessarily like taking a stand against any one thing in the aggressive sense that maybe some people that don't know about it would say. I think you guys are just kind of more so putting the family back in school.
Yes, sir.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. And like having spoke to you now, I can see that very clearly. I definitely didn't know that before talking to you. And I think that's probably the single most element. Besides that and the positive peer pressure, which you guys can have that. We'll give that to you today. We won't trademark that one. Positive, like that peer pressure and the family being a part of it is definitely a huge thing.
I agree.
When you guys are like going to interview or like maybe talking to the other schools that are forming, when they're interviewing the families, is it like, are you going to be looking for diversity in the sense that like maybe some people are closer to the Apogee lifestyle than others? Or is it going to be like, hey, like, would you meet someone and be like, no, you're already hardcore on your, essential 11 already. We can't really help you that much. Like, how will that kind of look going back to that original question? Because I was like thinking about it of like somebody really needs the help, but maybe their family's not like there yet. Like, how are you going to like handle that?
I think the willingness, if there's willingness to be on their own journey as parents, and there's not the tendency to run to victimhood, or if their education always starts in the home, and so if they can track with that, that's gold.
So you're really just going to look for the families, or maybe the single mother that while they're watching news, like she's asking her kid, like, well, why do you think that's happening? Rather than just being like, yeah, like that politician's
Here's what you
bad.
need to think about this.
Yeah. I see that a lot. I saw it, not going to lie, it was pretty upsetting in the Doylestown parade. The parade's going through and everything, and then you have like the Republicans, like the Republican committee of whatever Bucks County rolls up, and there's like 6 dudes or like 6 people like walking like haphazardly up the street, and then the Democrats roll up, and there's like 75 people, maybe 100 people in their like caravan, but they all have like all of their kids with them. Their kids are sporting gear, which I'm like, I believe in like taking a stand and like having a firm belief, but like bringing your kids into that conversation and like helping them form such like rigid beliefs about something at such a young age. Like you're allowed to have whatever beliefs you want, but like, and I get that these are their kids, but it was just kind of like, look, like that kid's like 5 years old. He's waving a Biden flag or whatever. Like he doesn't even like.
They don't know.
What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? You're using this as like a picture moment. Like look, the young Democrats are out. Like, and it was just kind of, it was also disheartening that like 2 opposing, political groups are like, this is, it's Memorial Day. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing politics today? Of all the days, why are we like politicking today? So like that was also disappointing, but it made me, it's constantly, you see it around, cause I live in Doylestown, a lot of people, like people do impart their vibe onto their kids, knowingly or unknowingly. So when you have someone like coming into your program, like you're looking for more like, does your vibe check out, or are you willing to like let your kid develop outside of like your existence? Because like you're gonna have adults that come in that already believe things.
Yeah.
So it's more so like, is it kind of like you have to like let your kid kind of grow up in the program in a way? Like, does that make sense? Because like you're letting the peers kind of like develop your kids. So you have to be selective with like what peers you let into that kid's classroom.
I think that's true. I think that a lot of the people that straight out of the gate that wouldn't be a fit, they've been so taught that the importance of public school that they're looking at us as adversarial to public school just because we exist.
Yeah, that's why I asked some of the questions the way I did, because there is like, I did a couple of Googles and like I've listened to enough podcasts where like this is Converse has come, like Joe Rogan, obviously. Yeah. Which just like, I'm like, dude, there are probably people that are looking at this like as a bad thing. And I was kind of trying to ask like some of those questions to be like, why?
Conspiracy theory theorist factory or something like that.
You guys are raising child soldiers. I know it in my bones. I think it's a lot of work ahead of you guys, and I think that's really awesome. And I think I think you're gonna have to say no to a lot of people, especially by a year from now. By the time like people like Maria,
you could always start your own.
You know what I'm saying? Me?
Yeah. Once you start having kids,
I would fund it, but I don't know if I'm built for business. I don't know if I'm built for educating.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what makes him a valuable piece of it.
Yeah. Last night I showed up to jiu-jitsu a little late, and we had someone from another school there teaching like a little leg lock seminar, and I'm there with like 2 of the younger kids, or the one kid I'm pretty close with. He worked for me last summer, and the other kids, it's his second day, and they're now doing like this role, and I'm like, yo, you gotta teach this other kid. And they're like, oh, show us. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna be any better at this teaching you guys. I just do this. I'm like, why are you falling so awkwardly? He's like, it's my second day. I was like, oh, you don't even know how to fall properly. I was like, we gotta take a step back.
Yeah.
Evan's making fun of me. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Can we get a teacher over here?
I'm not a teacher.
It's hard to remember what you don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to remember what it's like to not know.
Yeah.
especially in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Right now, my wife is like starting to take over like more and more responsibilities within our business. So I'm like having to stop and teach someone that's like completely outside of this world of construction and like building about different things enough so she can do her job. And there's been a couple times where I'm like, look, like you're going to have to bear with me right now, because I got to think about how I need to like explain this to you. But luckily she's married to me, so she knows how terrible I am at it. But yeah, teaching is not my strongest suit. I think I have a lot of respect for people that Gilmar's a good teacher. My brother's a good teacher. It's like people that can really listen and like have a lot of compassion are great teachers, because they like give you the space to like develop before like jumping down your throat like I do. For sure, like I just can't chill. I have zero chill.
Yeah, I like to think I have all the patience in the world.
That's why this show works.
I'm just like, you know what, man, we'll figure it out.
Complement each other well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we try to.
So is that kind of how things will be set up? Like you like administration, managing the coaches and that, and then you're kind of like the business end, because you said you're kind of coming into the fold eventually.
I guess so. I'm kind of going to be plug in where needed, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm still doing my own thing. So.
Break,
And I'll be
break
coaching. There's
class.
no way I'm not coaching.
Yeah.
I thrive in the studio and being part of that and being a facilitator of those conversations and just love it.
Is it important to the program to use like the proper language surrounding like teachers versus coaches and stuff like that? Is that correct?
I think it changes how everybody feels in the room, because it doesn't. It's not school. I mean, it's an Apogee school, but we're really not going to be a school.
Not a traditional classroom
yes.
with the teacher at the front with all the chairs pointing. It's like Montessori on steroids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Montessori is that's where the kids go around here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you're learning per se, like if the families that are very into education, usually you see their kids going there.
Yeah. If I meet somebody who doesn't know anything about like either the Acton model or Apogee, I say it's like Montessori on steroids.
Yeah. That is really unique. How does like the rest of do you guys have like large families, like extended families?
Do we?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
How do they feel like about you guys embarking on this journey? Like what's been the feedback? Not that we care, but like
there's a lot of mixed feelings.
Yeah.
It's
There's a lot of opinions.
There's a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much
Luckily,
anymore.
nobody took stabs, because at the beginning, when I first started this journey, I didn't go to school for it, right? I went to school for it because it taught me everything that I hated about it. So then I was able then I had to unschool what school looked like for me to make a really incredible environment conducive for promoting curiosity.
Do you have a formal education? Like college?
A little. I dabbled in college a little bit.
Yeah.
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 What did you do prior to being a coach?
Lots of sales.
Yeah.
Lots of sales.
Pharmaceutical type stuff, or what are we selling?
Food, makeup.
Skincare.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What skills do you think, like, you didn't think you would embrace this the way you obviously have? Like, what skills do you think you had, or like, what is it about you that led you to be like this, this person that people could like depend on?
I might be able to answer that.
Yeah, that might be good. We'll
I
cue
think
him.
that-
Go
I
ahead.
think
Maybe it's
that
good to hear somebody else's opinion that's close to you.
her natural ability to listen to everyone and actually listen to what they're saying and not just wait to talk, and your patience and love of children. I think just those three things were the foundation. And you have a lot of life experience that I think that you've been able to impart onto the kids, and it's been good for both of us, both you and the kids.
Nice. What's changed between like the two of you guys that like since like she kind of took on this like role as like the mother hen educator?
I get collateral not damage, but collateral requirements for taking stands at home. Come on, take a stand. Can't be wishy-washy.
God damn it, man.
Well, sometimes things are gray.
I just like picture her in like the closet or something with your lapels being like, take a stand. Just like yelling at it. And you're like, I don't want to do it.
You want cheese or pepperoni? Take a stand. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah. What's it like when somebody's like, what do you want to eat tonight? Like, do you make someone take a stand?
Do I
that's
go
where
that far?
That's
where I don't take a stand, though. Yeah.
No one does.
Free
man.
one for Jason.
Yeah, there you go.
God damn, there's no prisoner podcast. He's going to be like, take a stand. What do you want to eat?
So it's pho. When in doubt.
Oh, when in doubt, pho out. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Where do you go around here that's like your spot?
Vietnam Cafe, Pho Today.
Those are the two, yeah. In Montgomery County. Like
Okay.
309 and
Yeah.
Telford.
Have you been down to like into the city at all, like Washington Ave or anywhere like there?
Like Northeast?
Like South Philly?
Not South Philly.
Yeah, South Philly's got a couple spots
I'm sure
down there.
they do.
Vietnam
Yeah.
Cafe.
You also get your
Chinatown.
truck stolen while you're sitting there, so
Good time. Good time.
that didn't happen.
That didn't happen either. That doesn't happen at all.
It could have.
Saying it could, it might have happened.
Yeah.
What you guys? How many kids do you have total?
We have 3.
3 kids. That's awesome. And they're all very excited for this.
They are. Yes. I mean, our oldest he's excited. He's the least excited because he's off doing his own thing.
He's graduated.
He graduated, yes.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to go.
What's he doing next?
He's a coach. He is heading to Austin, Texas. To what is it, Gracie?
Humiyata? Who is it Humiyata or Humada? I don't know how to say it.
Humada.
Gracie
Yes.
down
Interesting.
there. Jim, he has an opportunity to help with the kids class, and he's doing a mentorship through one of the coaches that he met in the Apogee program. Also offered him a mentorship for a job. So he's going to go stay down there for 6 months to a year while we're away.
Not bad.
Train some
good deal.
jiu-jitsu.
Not bad. Yeah, there's a lot of killers training down in Austin right now. Austin's a hub.
Hotbed.
Philly has an odd surplus of jiu-jitsu killers as well, but Austin, like Philly's, sometimes I have to stop and realize like, oh yeah, we have people here too. We're blessed, but sometimes I look at Austin or California and I'm like, damn, those schools, all the people that are training there, it's amazing. But that's awesome.
Yeah, a question I had was, when say a child or young adult,
Tagging it.
children, they then move on and graduate. Do they then move on to an adult program? What is the process like from starting to then moving on and up?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. Since we don't have report cards, everybody will get a transcript, and they'll also be building out these digital portfolios, which are very attractive.
We didn't get into it, but business fair every year culminates in the kids spend the whole year, not the whole year, but a good portion of it developing a business plan, a business idea. And at the end of the year, there's a fair, and all the kids have the opportunity to participate if they want. And it's like a big expo where all the kids can have their little businesses.
Okay.
So every year, they're building their business acumen. It's trying to create little entrepreneurs. Also,
Free thinkers.
So, which is why our son is kind of like, yeah, I'm good on school. Now, we have connections with Praxis, which is like an alternative to college. So anybody who graduates from an Apogee program is automatically enrolled. It can be. It's an option for them. But some of them might not want to go on to college. I mean, of course, there's some professions that's a requirement, but they'll learn quickly that there is a game in school, and they can play it really well, and they can also not.
bypass.
They can just bypass, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to have chickens at your school?
Yeah,
Maybe goats too.
Maybe goats?
Yeah, fresh eggs, fresh milk.
Yeah, I don't know how I picture it that way. Just like a farm.
Our kids want us to have chickens.
Just
Yeah,
flipping
I bet.
tires. You're like driving past kids just flipping tires. Be like, hey!
Hammering.
Wow, these kids are working on
Yeah. It's all just jacked.
Be like, that's Jimmy. He's working on his tires.
It's sledgehammer.
Yoke, just like a
Yeah.
10-year-old kid with just traps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this. I think you
Yeah.
guys are going to have a great time.
Thank you.
And
I'm excited.
yeah, you got anything else for us?
That was so access to the program, I guess. Is this open to everyone? Is it going to be a certain location? Is there going to be opportunities for, say, someone that maybe doesn't have the means to earn a scholarship to enter the program and to want to better themselves?
Great question. So there's a
Apogee Pay,
Apogee Pays. What is that called?
payment processing service.
Yes.
Similar to
A terminal processing like the
Yeah,
so like
so
credit card machines.
A little backstory on that. The man who helped to create that is the man who is being mentored by my son.
going to mentor your son.
Going to mentor my son. Yeah,
Your son's going to Austin to mentor a grown man.
Yes. That would be special.
He was
Yeah.
born gifted. No, we understood what you're saying.
So if a local business wants to switch, it's like a payment processing system like Square. Instead of going to agendas, the 3%, that can go straight to a scholarship fund. So like
if say I'm running a lot of money every month in transactions, that 3% could go to you guys instead of.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
And you can go specifically for, a specific family, or it can just go straight to the campus.
What? When you guys are ready to do that, let's talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Alrighty.
incredible.
That's a lot of money.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would definitely do that.
Yeah, you're
I'd
helping so
switch.
many
Yeah, for sure.
people.
Because one of the things I was going to ask is like, what is like the finance or funding end of this? Like, how's that all work for you guys as well as the students? I'm assuming there's obviously a cost for the students to attend there.
Sure.
But like for you guys as like business owners, like was there like an initial investment into this that you guys had to like put together?
Yes,
like,
there's an affiliate fee that we pay, and then a small percentage
like,
every year.
Yeah. It goes back to like the thing to like help grow it probably. It's probably not
Exactly.
being used to
Yeah, it's all nonprofit. The
definitely
school will
not
be-
boats and hose. No.
Yeah.
That's one
It was a
thing you
good-
always
it was
get
a good.
asked.
It was a good pitch, but
Yeah. They'd be like, you
fall
know
for
what we
it.
could use with the profit? And they were like, nah, I think we'll help more kids. They were like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's help the kids.
Yeah, Tim, that's a good idea.
Yeah. No boats.
He's like sharpening his knife. Licks it.
yeah.
He'd be like, yeah, whatever you say, Tim. This is your show.
Yeah.
Will you guys like be looking for like, because private institutions get endowments or investors or not investors, donations and things like that? Or are you guys going to be open to that as well, in addition to like the credit card benefits? Like, would you guys as like PA Apogee be raising capital every year? Because you are a nonprofit, I'm assuming. So like, there's probably some sort of capital component.
yes, and in addition to the Apogee Pay scholarship program, there's also a program in the state of Pennsylvania where you can allocate all of your state taxes to, or 90% of them. Do you remember what it was called? I forget what it's called this moment, where you
I
can
can't
allocate
remember.
your state taxes to scholarship programs.
Yeah.
So that will also be something that we'll be utilizing.
Okay, cool.
So,
Yeah.
and as far as any donations, or we haven't
crossed that bridge yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
We'll have to have you guys back on or like do some sort of like promotion for you guys, like when you get closer to.
Yeah, that would be
Because
great.
I guarantee you, there's a few people listening to this that are going to be like, "Those people you had on, how do I get on the list?" And I'll be like,
Yeah.
"There's no list." I'll be like, "No, there's what? Where's the list?"
Yeah.
And I'll be like,
The list?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a list.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to do that? Like put a pre-sign up thing together, maybe?
We'll be doing events. Yeah.
Do you think there is a link that we can like include in like the description of this that people can kind of like get more information for your school specifically, or like sign up or whatever you guys have set up?
Sure. I mean, we can put the link for Apogee Pays if anybody's interested in that. Apogee Strong has that's a great web. We don't personally, our school doesn't have a website yet. We'll launch that probably beginning of 2025. But our Instagram handle and there's a form to fill out if there's interest.
Will
so
they
we can
build
set
the
up
website out
interviews.
for you? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
So it's built out. Yeah, it is built
That's
out.
part of like the affiliate. They already probably have like a template that they can
It's
give you.
beautiful.
And then do you like upload information to that, like unique
Yes,
to your school?
completely customizable.
Cool.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
I really appreciate you guys coming out.
Thanks for having us.
Do you guys have anything else like you want to close out with? Any like, I don't know if you have like a chant or something. I'm just kidding.
Not yet.
She stands up and starts doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
They do the Matthew McConaughey thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turns into a bros podcast.
Yeah.
2 hours in. I told you it gets out of hand.
Yeah. We're right at the cutoff.
All right. I really appreciate you guys for coming. We'll put all your information in the description so everybody can click it and find out more about you guys. And then we'll definitely have to stay in touch. I'm sure like I'll see you.
I'll be jumping in.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll see you in Portugal, buddy. And this is probably one of the more exciting podcasts that not that everybody else isn't exciting, but when I had the opportunity to like sit down and talk to you guys about this, I was pretty pumped. I texted Gilmar and I was like, we're going.
Yeah, I was like, let's go.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Happy hour last Wednesday of the month, which is possibly tomorrow or next week, depending upon when you're listening to this, or 3 weeks from now, last Wednesday of the month at 86 West, the home of the No Prisoners podcast. Thanks.